on. Let us know if our mics are working and if the audio sounds okay. Jabrils, say hi.
What's going on? Hello, hello.
Maybe you're a bit too loud, in my
Oh,
opinion. No, that's fine. I'll just turn you down a little bit, and I'm sure people will start letting us know. Now we've got a shorter delay than usual. Usually, we'll probably get better responses from the chat. Yeah, Jabrils is louder. Okay. I did turn you down a little bit. Is it okay now? You want to just keep
let's see. Testing, testing.
testing? Still too loud. All right, I'll turn you down to 80% on Discord. Say one more time.
Testing, testing. Eating yogurt is a bad idea on stream. I probably should not do that.
Yeah, we're fine now. We're fine. Okay. Yeah, I've turned you down. I think stuff should be okay. People let us know if there is a problem, but I think it's fine now. So, welcome to the, I don't know, 6th stream. I'm not numbering these, but I'm trying to keep count in my head somewhere. The 6th game dev Q&A stream. We are thinking of branching out. I mean, you still are pretty much a game dev focused YouTuber, but with more of a focus on AI, I guess, from what I've seen. Feel free, we'll talk about it throughout the stream. But yeah, those of you who have watched my channel already know who I am. I mainly focus on intermediate to advanced Unity tutorials with a focus recently on networking. Multiplayer networking is the main thing I'm doing right now. And then, Jabrils, how about you introduce yourself?
Greetings, Earthlings. My name is not Jabrils. It's Jabril, but my channel name is Jabril. Jabrils. Yeah. Sorry to confuse you. I produce a channel here on YouTube in which I'm exploring everything that's interesting to me in regards of engineering. So that's like AI, VR, AR, robotics, you name it. It's a lot of fun, and I'm really grateful to be able to do what I do.
Cool. Have we got any questions yet? Or people have been talking about pizza. I think you got them distracted on pizza conversations from the actual questions. I mean, you have been asked what your favorite pizza is. We can start off with pizza until we have technical questions.
Yeah, absolutely. So for me, I'm a very simple man when it comes to pizza. To be honest with you, my favorite pizza is just regular pepperoni and cheese with red sauce. Like, that's my favorite. Can't beat it. However, if I'm getting fancy, if I'm feeling fancy, it needs to have red onion and cilantro on it. And then like the meat side, I'm not too picky. But absolutely, can I say this? I have to say this, Dapper. Any pizza that has fruit on it is a sin. It is a sin. You can look it up. In every Bible across the world, it says pizza with fruit on it is a sin.
Specifically pizza.
Same.
Yeah. Well, I'm probably just as simple. I just go with, like you said, pepperoni, cheese. Well, obviously, I don't know. Some people have cheeseless pizza, but they're weirdos. So, I guess, yeah, most of the time I just go for that. But if I'm having Domino's, then I get a meat feast. I always go for a meat feast. That's like my favorite. I don't have any other stuff.
What's that include?
What does that include? I'm trying to remember now. What there's meat feast and there's meteor. There's like meatballs, pepperoni, various different meats. It's just a full meat feast, I guess. Salami. Yeah, there's just everything. Okay, well then, hopefully the pizza conversation.
I have a problem.
Yeah? Keep going.
I have a problem with like pizzas with too much meat. It's because what I find often happens is that like a lot of people don't know how to cook the pizza correctly, and so they just layer the top with all this meat, and then underneath it's like the cheese isn't quite melted right, and the sauce is it's just like the dough is all off. It's a little gripe that I have about like super meat pizza, but
would you say you're a pizza connoisseur?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think everyone is deep down. Everyone has latent pizza abilities. You just have to unlock them.
Yeah, and you definitely have unlocked them. Oh, we have got quite a few questions now. We'll start off with the question that we always get, but I think it's always good with a new guest. It'll be mainly for you to answer, I guess, which is, what sparked your interest in coding?
What sparked my interest? I always harken it back to when I was really young, and my mother would play a lot of video games. She played the Super Nintendo, and she introduced me to Donkey Kong Country, and that just came out. And I was so fascinated by the idea that, like, you have a controller in your hand and that's giving inputs to Donkey Kong to move around and do actions and stuff like that. There were also like agents. There were the what were they, reptiles and the rats and the beavers and stuff like that that also had their own agency. As a kid, it blew my mind. I could never really figure out, like, how is it that I understand I control Donkey Kong, but who's controlling the rats? Who's controlling the beavers? Like, what is going on
It's
here?
the
And so I think
employees.
that was like the very first. What was that?
That's it's the employees, the developers, clearly. Yeah.
They all networked into every home device and controlled the beavers and stuff. Yeah, but I think that's probably like my earliest memory. I think the second biggest is when I first played Smash Bros. And how much that inspired me to just think of like level design and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like, obviously, everyone has their own kind of way into the scene, the industry, whatever. I mean, I guess mine. Yeah, when I was younger, I didn't even think about how stuff worked. I was like, here's a game, and I'm having fun playing it. And then eventually, I played Skyrim, and I really enjoyed Skyrim. I played a ton of Skyrim, and then I found out on Steam there was the like software development kit for it, like, or the you could download this thing on Steam, this tool that'll let you make your own quests, NPCs, at zones of the game. Like, you could basically do what you like, and it's the real tools I think that the developers used. And I spent ages making my own dungeons and quests and stuff. And then I was thinking, like, okay, but what if I want to make my own game? And that's where I'd say my interest came from. I didn't want to just mod Minecraft forever. Sorry, Minecraft? Skyrim. You know, Minecraft's. I've never.
Skyrim.
Yeah, Skyrim. Quite a bit different to Minecraft. People are
And
surprised. Oh yeah.
modding is a good entry.
Yeah, yeah.
Give me one second. I'm gonna close the window. It's a bit busy in this area. 1 second.
Okay, we can wait. I'll read some of the chat. Mm. Yeah, so
Now I melt from the heat.
one question I have that I've seen in the chat as well is, what's the whole shtick with the no mouth movement? Has that ended now? I know I've seen you
No,
move your
it's not.
mouse before, but yeah.
It's not ended. So how it started, I this is probably my third YouTube channel. I think it is, maybe fourth. So I've learned a lot about what it takes to create video for YouTube. And with this channel, I was like, okay, I just want to trim the fat of everything. Like, I just want to be the most simplest thing possible. What can I do? And I was watching, but this was before I made the channel. I was watching like a commentary channel. I was like, man, I wish that I could just, record voiceover and then just upload it. They literally were just playing a game with their voice and they upload the video and it was done. And then I was like, you know what? Why can't I do that? And so, yeah, I decided to voice over. And then initially, I didn't really have any plans on like how I was going to fill the video, but I was inspired by a movie that I watched a really long time ago with Robert De Niro, where the idea was Robert De Niro he's acting in this film, but the directors gave him a sandwich. And the reason why they gave him a sandwich for this scene is because it makes it all seem more natural as they go about acting versus just like pan face, giving the lines. He's also focused on the sandwich. And so, like, I don't know, that scene to me was so funny. I can't remember the name of the movie, but yeah, that's basically the story. It all just happened. And then I started getting comments about it, and I was like, I guess this is what we do now.
Yeah, it's like people who have face reveals, and if someone catches you and they, make exposed videos, it almost seems like the same thing where people have been waiting to see you move your mouth to expose. And I know I've seen on the channel there's been other times, and I've always wondered, like, why is it that, for these videos you don't and these videos you do? I guess it's a lot of effort. Like, if you wanted to come on this stream and do that, it would just be probably quite a bit of effort to make it work.
Yeah, that's what I realized is that, like, as cool as it would be to be like, oh, you've never seen my mouth move before, it is a lot of work. It's a lot of work. Like, I wrote an algorithm that will replace my real-time mouth with like a closed mouth. But even to get that running, it's like, if it's impossible to do that in real time on live stream at the moment. And then if I feature on something, say, hey, send me the video, let me process it and send it back, it's just like,
Yeah, it's not worth the effort, sadly.
Yeah.
Mm, apparently, you speak telepathically while eating candy. Is this true? Yeah, people are still just commenting on it about your mouth moving. Here we go. Oh, a good question. I don't think anyone's actually asked this before on stream, but how do we combat procrastination? And honestly, I'm not the best person to ask for this. I still would say I'm quite a procrastinator a lot of the time, but I'm definitely better than I was back in school. I mean, we were just talking earlier about what time we woke up today and stuff like that. And
yeah, I think when it comes to procrastination, I think the real question that needs to be asked is not like how do you prevent it? Because I think that procrastination is inevitable. If you have like creative thoughts, it's inevitable. But I think the real question is like, what is it that you are doing to procrastinate, right? Like if you're procrastinating by, I don't know, give me something that's relatively pointless. I wanted to say video games, but that's not.
Yeah, that's not a good. No.
I don't agree with that.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're just like throwing a ball at the wall.
Yeah, or just sitting there doing nothing, like at all.
Yeah, or just sitting there doing absolutely nothing, or I'll even say like if you're just sitting there watching cable television, like that in my personal opinion is like bad procrastination, right? But if you're like exploring some other side idea or something like that, I don't think there's anything wrong with that procrastination, because again, procrastination is inevitable.
Yeah, my procrastination is usually like I'm working on something, and then when I procrastinate, it's to work on something else. It's not to do nothing, it's just to be productive in a different way, because working on the same project for hours on end can sometimes just get a bit tiring.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, for me, it's more so like there's this burning thought I've had over the last 2 days, and I just have to know, because it's like taking up the thought of like what the answer could be is taking up so much time that I just have to like stop this main project that I have to do tomorrow and then like research the other thing.
Yeah, I can spend sometimes. I procrastinate by researching, but like to a point where you spend too long researching. Like you're doing it just for the sake of it now. Or same with like refactoring. It's like you've probably done enough, but you just want to keep going, and it's just to not have to go back and do the other thing.
Right.
I guess none of this really answers the question of how to stop it, but like you said, that's not really something you can do. It's a case of, I guess, making sure you procrastinate correctly.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that procrastination is such a human like element that it's not something that you can avoid. Like the greatest people that you can think about all have procrastinated.
Yeah. What else have we got here? We've got, what was the first coding language we both learnt? Do you want to go first?
Sure. The first language that I learned was actually questionably not a language. A game maker language with Game Maker.
Okay.
Was the first thing I ever touched.
That's technically the same for me as well. I didn't think about that because a lot of people don't consider it a proper language, but I mean, it is a language. It's just not usable in other software, but it's the skills are transferable to some extent. The first proper language I learned was Python in school, and then after getting to the point where the lessons weren't teaching enough, it's like an entire lesson on variable. Like no. I went home and I just started searching how to make games, Unity, C# tutorials, all that stuff. Yeah, most of it was self-learning out of lessons because the lessons just didn't get like to the point where I was like happy with what I was learning. I was like, this isn't enough. Yeah.
I have to ask for the meme.
You have to ask for the
meme. Was it easier than you think?
Was what easier than I think?
Or I guess I should ask you, was it easier than you thought? I just had to ask for the meme. The ads.
Oh.
You can learn GameDev. It's easier than you think.
Are those the Udemy ads with that guy?
I believe so.
Yeah, I've not seen those in a long time. I don't think. I mean, honestly, I don't even remember my previous expectations of what it would be like. Though I do remember the first time I ever tried programming, I just gave up in like half an hour, probably less. I went on like Code Academy and tried to do some, I don't even know what language it was because it was so long ago. And I started doing it, and none of the information was going in my head, or it was going in one ear out the other. I wasn't remembering any of it. So I gave up, and then I came back like I don't know how long after and tried again, and it just clicked and made sense. I was like, oh, variables, they make sense. Classes, functions, it all just made sense, and then it kind of snowballed from there. Yeah, I know a lot of people do give up probably too soon, and I know, at least in my experience with people in like my Discord server and channel, a lot of people start off trying to do something too complicated, and that's their block, and then they give up.
Yeah.
It's just because they jumped in at the deep end, and like they're trying to make a Discord bot, but they've never like they don't know what a variable is, and they're just copy pasting tutorials and trying to mash stuff together. So yeah, I guess my main thing to say when you get into programming, please learn the basics first. They are necessary. Even if they're not that interesting to log out to the console and number, but still, you know, everyone's got to start somewhere.
I don't know if I would necessarily agree with that. I do think that people do start too big too often, but at the same time, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. So long as like what you're trying to make is like something you have a lot of passion about, you will eventually find your way to that, right? I know that like for me, when I first started off with Unity, you know, I did the same exact thing. You know, it's like I'm gonna make this Grand Theft Auto 5 / Dragon Ball Z / artificial intelligence project. And then, you know, a couple weeks into it, I was like, okay, this is way too big. However, this one thing I was working on this project, let me branch off and do this other thing, and it just like kept on going and kept on going. And the only reason why I say that is because, you know, it's not something that I would do myself. Like if there's something new that I want to learn, like the first thing that does not come to mind is like, okay, let me go one by one for a tutorial and learn like the encompassing everything about it, versus like, let me just learn what I need to make this work, and then from there branch out my knowledge.
Yeah, I guess I'll kind of rephrase. Yeah, what I mean is, if you are going to do something more complicated, so like in my experience, a lot of people have tried making Disco bots and they've never coded. You can kind of work backwards. Like you're now in the deep end. You're trying to make this relatively complex thing for someone who's never programmed before. But then, so long as you then look up the little bits you need to know to work through it, you need to have patience for sure, because there's a lot of stuff. Yeah. If you start using some random library or, like, for example, a game engine, there's going to be a lot of stuff in there. I mean, there's still stuff in Unity I've never even probably looked at or heard of that's in the engine. There's just so much stuff there. And you don't need to know everything to make a game, let's say. You know, you can know basically nothing when you're going into it. Like you said, if you have an idea in mind, maybe you can't make the full thing, but maybe if you can make a part of it, that'll let you branch off to make something else. But yeah, I know a lot of people do kind of, it's not a case of dreaming too big, but it's a case of dreaming too big too soon, I would say. Like, yeah, it's a case of, you know, you can't just day one of programming make an MMO. It's, you know, but yeah, you can one day if you go at it long enough. And, you know, an MMO is probably the bad example because you've probably not heard of a single developer. Like, okay, there's lots of vehicles outside, but if that keeps going, I'll have to shut my windows, but I will just boil to death. I can't hear anything. Oh, okay, that's fine then. Never mind. Do we enjoy game/software? They put JMS. I assume they mean like jams. Yeah, I mean, I know you did a video. I think it was probably the first one I've seen. It might be your most popular video, right? The global game jam thing. So
yes,
yeah.
So funny thing about that video, I was actually thinking about not even uploading it. I was like, this video sucks.
I'm sure you're glad you did.
Yeah, definitely am. That propelled my channel into a different dimension. But I have a bit of a controversial take on this. I don't like jams. I do not like jams at all.
I like them for one reason. I'll let you finish your part first. Yeah.
Yeah, I at least like the short jams. I don't like the finish the game in 24 hours, 48 hours. I personally don't like it. I like the longer ones where it's like take a week or a month, you know. But it's what it is.
Do you like the actual kind of atmosphere of working with random people and just going for it, like making something?
Yeah. I think that like the experience that I had with Global Game Jam was a lot of fun, even though, you know, I killed a lot of brain cells in those 2 days trying to make that game. But often, I guess part of my problem as well is that when I do jams, oftentimes I'm not working on a team. maybe that's what I need to like work on, getting teams configured and having fun with people.
Yeah, I've done a few like Ludum Dares, and I did like the Brackies game jam and maybe one or two others, and I've done all those solo just because it's been easier to not have to rely on someone else and do all that. But I did back in January. I think it was January, the Global Game Jam 2020. I was in the Netherlands at the time, and I did the Global Game Jam at the University of Amsterdam. And that was the first one I've done with other people and like in person. It's the first global game jam thing I've done, and it was fun, but it was definitely more stressful. Just like having to actually set up like all the source control with the other people working on it, and getting it all to work, and having to agree on an idea. And yeah, I guess it's just the nature of working on a team, but it's working on a team that you just formed. On that day, you're also designing a project and making it to submit in 2 days' time. It's a lot of stuff, but it's, I guess, a good practice to be under stress and just do all that fun stuff. So I guess I do enjoy it, but I think the best thing it's done for me is it's made me actually be able to create like finished projects, because otherwise my projects just kind of die in my Unity folder. But with this, I've actually put games on itch and like, yeah, pretty much just that. But still, I've actually got stuff finished.
Yeah, I think that's probably the greatest component of game jams, is it teaches you how to finish. My only gripe really is just the short amount of time that you have, and it's like, you stay up all these days, you kill these brain cells, and then what's really the reward for that? A few games get like a lot of views, get a lot of plays, but I think overall most games like don't really get a lot of plays, and I don't know. I just think that's an unfortunate part of it, but that's just my take.
Yeah. I don't know when the next time I'll be doing a game jam is, because there was Ludum Dare like a couple weeks ago, I think, and I just completely missed it. It was like the day before. I was like, oh no, it's tomorrow. Well, that's too late. I'm not going to get a chance to do that. So I'll have to wait until the next one. I think is it every 4 months or every 3 months? I think it's maybe every 3 months. Then maybe there'll be one in December or January. We'll see. But yeah, what's next?
I just want to get some shouts to chat.
Oh.
I want to say shouts to Preda. Shouts to Elena. What's going on, Elena?
Oh, Elena's
Mega Miley.
Roman Papush isn't chat.
Roman. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, quite a few familiar faces. What have we got here? Any tips for making your first indie game? I guess that can definitely vary based on, is your first indie game your first like project? Are you just getting into it right now, or have you do you already know Unity and a bit of coding and you're just trying to finish an actual game for once? Because I don't know, would I call my game jam things an indie game? I guess not. I think people mean something you want to release on Steam to either sell or put up maybe as free. But yeah, I'm just so many questions. Yeah, tips on an indie game. It's so hard. I don't know what tips to give. Any pointers?
Yeah, I can only say, just do it. I mean, I haven't shipped an indie game yet, so like you have to take my advice with a grain of salt. But I definitely, from what I've learned so far from trying to build an indie game, is you have to just do it. And the most important thing to keep in mind is like learn scope, learn how to scope.
Yeah, if you actually want to like get something finished, it's about the scope, and it's not like your first indie game has to be the best in the world. It's arguably better to get some like okay games out first that actually get finished, because you get the full experience, and then over time make improvements on your workflow and stuff. But if you have too big of a scope for your first project, you'll never make your first project. It'll just get thrown away. And I still also need to take that into consideration, because like I said, I've finished games for game jams, but apart from game jams, I've never like finished a game to release. So yeah, I mean, I've been busy doing other stuff as well. It's not like that's my only thing and I've just been bad at it. But yeah, for the future, if and when I work on my own game, it's definitely got to keep the scope under control.
Scope's really important.
Yeah,
and then the most important, in my personal opinion.
And then someone asked, are we planning to release a big game? well, probably not. I'm not. Well, the answer is no. I'm not planning on releasing a big game, and like we said, scope. Yeah, a big game could mean a lot of things. Like to whoever you're asking, it's kind of a hard question.
I feel like depending who it is, this might be bait for me.
Yeah.
I have to answer yes.
Oh.
In my personal view, the game that I'm building right now is called Staggered. It's been a couple years. We have an on and off relationship, but it's big enough for me, and I have learned a lot about scope building this game. I have cut back a lot of features because I realize how it will balloon the timeline so easily. But yeah, I'm working on Staggered, and I cannot wait to get that game out.
Has there been any footage on YouTube? Because I think I've seen various, like, different bits of different games or projects you've worked on, but I can't remember by name which is which or any of that. But yeah.
Yeah, Staggered is a game that's like fully like physics simulated. So it's the premise is like it's a bunch of androids on a planet, and they have a bunch of different weapon loadouts, and like it's all wacky, wonky. It's inspired by Gang Beast, and you can like cut off android limbs and stuff like that. And yeah, I did a playtest party like a couple years ago, and I was blown away by like how many people actually like enjoyed just playing the game, and it's a great feeling. Like again, this is my first experience ever like really building like an indie title. And it's a lot of fun. A lot of fun. I can't wait to get the game out.
How many more years do you reckon it'll be?
You know, the thing is that like I'm not a full-time indie game developer. I'm a full-time YouTube creator. It's just what it is. So I think it's probably a good couple of years away. I'm being realistic.
I'll keep checking back, and maybe one day I'll get my hands on it. What's our usual workflow for complicated issues, either coding or just real life, anything? What's our mindset on getting past? Yeah, there's so many philosophical questions. You've got an answer by the looks of it. I'll have a think about my answer.
Yeah, so my approach, what has helped me the greatest since sliced bread was I have this laptop. It's a Microsoft Surface Pro or something like that, but it has a tablet feature on it. And man, just take out the tablet part with the pen, and they have like a notes app where you can just draw stuff out. That is, oh man, that is the best thing ever. So whenever I come across anything that's super complicated, be it like calculus or some AI problem or whatever it be, I just pull out the little notepad with my pen and just like write out everything, draw everything, sketch it out, walk through, an algorithm until I have it figured out. And then I will apply what I learned from writing that on, I call it paper. It is paper. People get mad that they call writing on a tablet paper, but it is paper. I mean, anyhow, that's a whole another tirade. But yeah, that helps out so much being able to write it out.
Yeah, I think like I have actually used paper in the past, and now I've kind of probably, I don't know if this is a good idea, but I've transitioned to just using paint. Like whenever I'm trying to I'm getting bogged down by something, I just open up paint and I start drawing in it, and then it usually does help. Like just even some simple diagrams to understand the flow of stuff. Whether that's when I'm doing like web stuff or game dev or whatever else, paint is always there to help out. And I don't often save my actual paint drawings. They just you make it helps you understand, and then they go. I usually use other stuff if I'm doing like a proper sophisticated plan. But if it's just to, as you say, get past a complicated issue, then yeah, just jotting stuff down helps. I don't think I have my own answer, like a really good answer. But I do agree with what you said. I'm just kind of going to steal that answer too, because yeah, again, it's there are loads of philosophical questions and like really deep, like how to solve your life problems and stuff, and I'm not the person to ask about that.
The best questions.
The best questions. Advice to defeat laziness. I mean, that's kind of linked in with the procrastination thing. If you associate, procrastination with being lazy. I don't know. I wouldn't say I'm that lazy for the most part. Like, I mean, everyone wants to relax at some point, but I think the main way to stop being lazy is to have like a goal in mind, because same with the procrastination. The reason you procrastinate is because you don't really want to be doing the thing you're doing right now, because you're either tired of doing it or it's just something that doesn't interest you. So I always try and have enough interests so that, like, if I get bored of one thing, I don't go and waste my time. I just move on to try and learn something else. Like, I might be working on a website thing for hours and then realize, all right, I'm going to go into Unity for a bit. All right, I'm going to go just randomly learn some stuff about AI that just because it interests me, and then I'll forget about it. Just to keep you going, always learning something new.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think that the opposite of laziness is simply just knowing what you like. I think it's as simple as that. You know, if you know what you like, then at any point you're able to combat that laziness with learning something new about what you like. And I mean, I think the definition of lazy itself, it can sway depending on the person. But overall, I would start there. Just know what you like. And then whenever you're feeling lazy, you know, whatever medium it is, even if it's just like booting up a cable television show about something that you like, I think that helps combat laziness. There's also another note I was going to say as well. It has escaped me. I guess, and I was also going to say laziness in what regard, right? Because it's like if you have like this game project that you're working on and you're feeling too lazy to work on it, then me personally, I would ask like, well, why is this? You know, is it that I really don't like this game idea? Is it that I don't like game development? Or, you know, am I forcing this? What is the story here? I hope that helps.
Yeah, it's just all about having interest in what you do, and then you don't even, the time flies by, you get stuff done, and, you wish you have more time to work on it because you're enjoying it so much. But also, like I said, if you work on the same thing, no matter how much you enjoy something, I think if you work on it too long in like consecutively, then you can get bored even if you love the project, and then you just need to take some time away and then come back. That's usually what I found anyway.
I agree with that, yeah.
Yeah. How do we feel about people who copy code and call it their own? I mean, it's quite a loaded question because, there's open source stuff, but that doesn't mean you're meant to take open source stuff and just say, this is mine. But also, I mean, one thing about coding is it is all about using stuff other people have made. Using Unity, you didn't make the game engine, and you're not claiming to have made it, but, that's kind of the point. I don't agree, obviously, with just going to some repository on GitHub and just taking something and using it. And a lot of the time, that will be against the license. But I say, even if the license is open source, you don't take it and say it's yours. There are some licenses where it's like, you can use it as long as you credit back, and then that's you crediting the creator. They gave you permission to use it. But yeah, I don't think anyone agrees with people just taking code that someone else wrote and they don't want you to have it, and that's stealing effectively, right? So, yeah.
Yeah, I completely agree. If that is what's being asked about, like someone literally taking code and like, hey, I did this, like that's obviously wrong. It's terrible.
Yeah.
But if the question is asking about like people using open source things and like remixing it in a way and then calling like that new remix their own, I can see that argument, depending on how much they have transformed the actual like base code. But yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and when it comes, another thing is, as someone who does coding tutorials, there's some people who will follow a tutorial and they're not really intending to learn from it. They just want to have the end product, so they'll just copy paste it and use it. And sometimes I'm not too bothered by that. I mean, the channel is to teach people, so I hope, at least if you get the code, you've learned something. But then there are the people who copy paste the code, don't learn, they try and run this thing, and then it might not work how they want it to, and then they complain it doesn't work, and they didn't even do anything at all anyway. They've just, it's like, well, that's your own fault. That's karma, isn't it? That's karma. So,
That's funny. That's so funny.
Yeah. What else do we have here? What's this? I think Jabrils and Nathan need to open Jabrils Samsay. Oh, that's the website thing, right? That's what Elena said we need to open that. I don't actually have a stream set up for like streaming my desktop, which is a shame, and I'm not gonna try and mash that together right now because we've just got all the new stream assets for like our faces and everything, and we got that last week. I haven't actually thought about streaming desktop because it's usually just podcast Q&A stuff, so sadly I don't think we'll be doing that on stream right now. But to be honest, I've seen the video but I haven't tried it myself, so I'm gonna maybe after stream I'll try and remember to have a look at that. If you want to tell people a bit about it, I know you've got a video on it, so that's something people should check out, but do you want to talk about it?
What was the question? I'm sorry, I didn't understand.
Elena was saying, is it Samsay? Is that what it is?
Yeah, Sam says sweetsounds.com.
Yeah, Elena was saying we should show it on stream, but like I said, yeah, put the link in chat. Oh wait, you can't put links in chat, can you?
Yeah, I don't want to show it on stream because then you'll find out I'm a charlatan.
we'll link it at the end of the stream, or people can go find it on your channel. I mean, your channel's linked below, so people can definitely find out who you are if they don't already know. I'm sure most people here watching do. I've scrolled back up too far to the pizza stuff, but yeah, where were we? So the person who asked about game jams earlier said the reason they asked is because they recently started hosting their own small game jams. Okay, well, I've tried a long time ago to start my own game jam when I was a really small, like I had like less than 1k subs, and I assumed because some people in my Discord server said they were interested, I was like, yeah, I'll do this, and then no one did it. So since then, I've never tried hosting my own, because you really, if you've got, let's say, I'm like roughly 25k subs, the actual percentage of people that'll turn up is very, very small. You need a huge user base to actually get people to take part, I think. And to make a game jam feel like a game jam, I think you need a decent amount of people. You can't just have like 5 people. It doesn't really work. You need the community aspect of it, in my opinion. Have you ever tried or hosted your own game jam? Not that I'm aware of, but maybe.
No, I really don't have interest in like game jams like that. I think I don't know. I just don't quite understand like the. Like, I understand the big ones. The big ones to me are really exciting, but then when it goes like anything beyond the big ones, I'm like, well, what's really the point, you know? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I have a bit of a controversial take on game jams.
Yeah, I mean, when there's like too many going on at once, and there's like this game jam this weekend and that this week, and I mean, I guess it gives people more options to tune in to take part in different game jams based on their schedule. But apart from that, it does just, I don't know. Yeah, like I said, I'm not like a strong advocate for them, but I'm kind of neutral. I don't really mind. I take part in them sometimes because the main reason for me is the motivation to actually finish a project. That's what I get the most out of doing game jams.
Yeah, I find for me though, like I've done a good amount of game jams, but I'll oftentimes like drop out just due to like, you know, my scope often is way too big. But for me, even the fact that I'm willing to drop out instead of like configure the idea to fit within the game jam is like, well, what's the point of me even doing this? You know, for me, there's like not enough motivation to finish the game. And it might be partly because I have a YouTube channel and it's like I can make a game at any point and broadcast it to an audience and basically get the same effect that, you know, someone who doesn't have a YouTube channel would get if they entered a game jam. But yeah, it's just my take, Dapper.
Yeah, I think it's just the mentality. Like when I'm taking part in a game jam, no one's holding like a gun to my head to say you have to finish in 2 days. But it still makes me do it. Like I actually do succeed in finishing the game in 2 days. Whereas normally on my own projects, I just always drop them off or go on them forever, and they never finish, never have anything to release. So yeah, maybe it's not the game jams themselves. It's just the time pressure I need. I need someone to make me actually complete something. Otherwise, I'll just keep working on it happily for the rest of eternity. So yeah. We have someone here asking, what language would we recommend to get into game design? Saying game design, you know, obviously, if you're wanting to become a game programmer, Yeah, go on.
I recommend English for game design.
So I'll rephrase the question. Which programming language would you recommend to get into game design? I mean, I think this question, it depends. Do you have an engine in mind? Because that usually answers the question for you. You know, if you know you want to use Unity, well, then there's your option, C#. But I know a lot of people now well, I don't know about a lot, but there's definitely people looking into Godot at the moment, which supports like 4 or 5 different languages, as far as I remember.
Yeah.
And so that is, I guess, you know, it allows more people to start with their current knowledge of whatever languages they know. But I found, like, I didn't learn C# in school. C# was completely self-taught. I learned Python to some extent, and it was a case of Googling how to do this in C# from Python. It's all about, like, translating.
Yeah.
But once you've learned, like, 2 languages, learning a third is easy. It's, like, it's just a case of Googling how to do this in this language. So if you already, this person said they're a computer engineering student anyway, so the chances are they already know programming already to some extent. So it's a case of, yeah, which language would I recommend? I guess if you have a game engine in mind, like I said, then that should answer it for you. But I would say C# because Unity, and I use Unity, but that's me, you know? Some people like Unreal, some people like other engines that I've probably never heard of or never used. I can't really tell you. Don't take my, you know, just because I use Unity doesn't mean you have to, but it's definitely something I'd recommend if you're trying to get into it. Did you say, oh, you said English? Did you have yeah.
Yeah, I would echo what you said. I definitely, this is just my personal opinion. There are many opinions out there, please note, but I definitely say C# and Unity Engine just because it's so simple to get started. There's so many resources out there to help you out with different avenues of everything. It's very beginner friendly. That's what I would recommend. But there are other engines out there. There's Godot and Unreal and GameMaker, but my personal opinion is Unity is probably the best for beginners.
Yeah.
And I hate to do semantics here, but game design.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, I hate to do the semantics, but like game design, when I hear that, I feel like you want to like design games, and for that you don't necessarily need to know a language. You just need to know like how to communicate, like how different functions and features work, and how you can really convey that to an audience, to a general audience well. But semantics, you can flame me at them.
Yeah, I saw design and was thinking like level design, building the game, as opposed to the systems, the underlying systems. So we'll assume, because you said computer engineering student, we'll assume you mean programming, and that's why you asked what language. How often do you use documentation during a project? I mean, I'll pretty much always have some page up on my second monitor, whether that's Stack Overflow, Unity forums, the documentation of Mirror, because that's the multiplayer thing I use. You know, I always have something open, because you always find if you ask Unity questions on Stack Overflow, people get annoyed, and if you ask general C# questions on the Unity forums, people get annoyed. So you got to make sure you ask the right questions in the right place, otherwise people get annoyed. But yeah, I like don't feel like you have to close any other browser tabs and work off your memory. You know, it's not just a meme that programmers Google everything. It's real. You know, Google is there to help you. I'm guessing you agree by the sounds of it. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. But I think it's also like they're called programming languages for a reason. And it's like any other language, you know, you get used to different functions and stuff like that, the inner workings of libraries. So after a while, there are certain components of libraries that you'll learn that you don't need documentation for. And you even grow like an intuition on how other functions you never used work before. However, when it comes to newer libraries and stuff, you will for sure have to use documentation. It's something you'll never be able to avoid so long as things are advancing.
And it's like sometimes certain things will have like auto-generated documentation with like no human comments at all. You've got to just try and understand the code. Whereas there's often, you know, documentation with a lot of really good explanation as to how things work, which is really useful if you're trying to use like some API you've never used. Like when I tried, for example, learning how to make a Discord bot for the first time, there was really good information plenty of different packages to support different languages. And I mean, I've made like a JavaScript disco bot, a Python disco bot, and a C# one. And yeah, the more you use something, the more the rest of it makes sense. Like you said, you get an intuition of just how to use the rest of it. You start using this new thing you've never used before, and it just makes sense. It just works. Same when I was using like the Steam API to do some Unity stuff, to grab your profile pics and your name to display in the game. Once I learned how to do like the first little thing with the Steam API, the rest of it was just guesswork, and it just worked. Like, there's very, there can be bad documentation in APIs, but for the most part, all the big ones that everyone uses is generally good. Should I make my own game engine? I know it will extend my game development for years. I mean, I've like tried before just out of curiosity, and I've given up very quickly because I realize the reason game engines exist is to make your life easier. So if your goal is to make a game, like to actually make a game, then making your own game engine, I'm not saying don't do it, but it will be a lot of extra work and time, and you won't actually be working on what you intended to, which was making a game. But if you're more of a technical person and you want to know the underlying, it's sure you use Unity. We got a cat on stream now. I'm sure that's going to make everyone in the chat happy. I've never had. Yep, we already have one message. But yeah, I've lost my train of thought now. What are we on about? We're on about using. I'm gonna have to go back to the question. It was about making a game engine. Like it's a lot. There's so much stuff you don't think of, and you might start making it as like a passion project or like an interest. And yeah, if you're wanting to learn the technical, you should only do it if you actually want to do it. If you're really wanting to make a game, then make your game. Otherwise you'll spend a very long time trying to make something, and the thing you end up making probably won't be as good as Unity, Unreal, or Godot. It just won't be. But it's good enough. It's a good thing to learn to understand how it works. Maybe you want to go and work on the Unity engine, maybe. So, yeah. I don't know. Making a game engine. I think I saw, Jonas Troyer or something? He did a video on game engines, and that actually made me want to start learning. And after I started learning for a bit, I gave up because I realized this is stopping me making games. I am learning some cool stuff, but it then halted actually making games, which is what I wanted to do. So, yeah.
I'd echo all that, man. The camp I'm in personally is that like I much rather just get to work than building the tools to work.
Yeah.
I think there are special instances where it's better for you to build the entire game engine. Like if you have this super, you want to optimize something super well, do it. But for the most part, my personal opinion is that like, just get Unity, man.
Yeah.
Just get to work as soon as possible.
You'll get something working a lot sooner, and you'll be happier probably. Right, because when you start making an engine, you've now got to think about all the stuff that Unity. Because it took how many years for Unity to get to where it is now, as a big team. It's kind of like, how do you expect on your own to make something as good in a shorter amount of time? It's like, it's just crazy. Sure, you can make something really simple and be proud of it. Like, I still do plan on making like a really simple game engine. But as soon as you think like, all right, I got to make this work on this device, Unity has that sorted. You've got to now look up how all that stuff works. And like, generally you have to use like C++ and look at how all the compiling stuff, and it's a lot. It's beyond what I know right now, but it is something I might want to learn at some point. I've still got a long time to learn this stuff. Elena asks more about Sam Says. Are you planning to do more with it? Oh, could you hear that?
Yeah. I'm not sure. I don't know. I was thinking about maybe updating the website a little bit, but I the whole design for the website is I want it to look crappy and I want it to look scary and sketchy. So
you achieved that.
I don't know. I hope so. I did want to add just a few more things to make the bot like keep people on the site a bit longer. So I had like a few more canned responses. But I'm not sure. It's like at the moment I am more interested in the projects that I'm looking ahead of and backwards, but who knows? Who knows what that future has in hold.
obviously some of the stuff in chat is referring to old questions, so I'm trying to like understand what we're on about here. But Roman was talking about having small side projects. Yeah, like if you have one main project that you spend most of your time on, it is good to have some small side projects. Like we were saying, if you work on the same thing for too long, no matter how much you love it and how passionate you are, you will get bored. I don't know anyone who's worked fully on one thing and non-stop and haven't got bored. So yeah, having side projects is always good. And I think if you're making an actual game, you're probably using all like the stable Unity versions, all the packages and stuff that's been out for a long time. If you have a side project, that would be maybe a good place to learn the upcoming stuff or the preview things, maybe as long as they're not broken. Because obviously Unity over time, like the input system's changing, then there's all the new UI stuff, but that's pretty early in preview as far as I'm aware. It's not going to be out till next year at some point. And then there's all dots and ECS. There's so much new stuff, but you probably don't want to be making your main project using that because it's not production ready yet. So yeah, I use side projects to learn new stuff. That's the main use of side projects. And that's not to say you don't learn on your main project. It just means you, in the new projects, are learning new things you haven't used before. But yeah, go on.
Since Roman brought up side projects, I really want to try his side project. That bomb demo looks so cool, man.
Yeah, I remember the last thing I saw was the kind of music sync with the bombs. I think it was on the YouTube. It was a while ago, but it was really good video. I showed it to a few of my friends because it was so like satisfying listening to the bombs and the trees spawning, but like in sync with the music. Better video editing than I'll be able to do. Unless, was it all actually done in Unity? I feel like it was post. I feel like it was in video editing. I don't think the trees themselves were making the sounds, but like in Unity. Maybe they were. We'll have Roman probably tell us, but I think it was edited. Maybe just. Someone asked on how do we plan on growing our channel, but I mean our channels. I don't know, it's kind of a hard question. It's not just like I plan on growing by getting more viewers. Simple. No, it's oh, your mic. Oh wait, your mic's back now. It just went weird for a second. I don't know. For me, one thing I've noticed is like the content I do, the people who watch it like it. It's a case of getting more reach. And one of the main criticisms people have said is I'm not good at making thumbnails, and I'm fully aware I'm not good at making thumbnails. So we have recently been working on getting, well, first of all, you see we've got a new stream layout. This is the second time I've used it. My old stream layout was just our old YouTube banner with some faces chucked in. We have like a proper stream layout now, and we have like a new, like our logo's updated slightly, and we're from my next video onwards, we're going to have like a new style of thumbnail that's a lot more professional than what I've managed to chuck together over the last year or two. So maybe just making our stuff look a bit more enticing will help. But we'll see. We don't know. When it comes to growth, like people are unpredictable. The YouTube algorithm's unpredictable. It is what it is. You've just got to try new things and see what works. That's my takeaway. I mean, yeah. Have you got any words of wisdom?
I have perhaps way too many, but I'll condense it. The question was, what are our plans for growth, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So mine's really simple. What I've learned is that, like, if your goal is growth, you unfortunately have to sacrifice some things. And what I mean by that basically is that, like, in a perfect world, I'd be able to make a video and go through all the nerdy details about why I want to do this project. And the audience would like it and we'd all celebrate. But that's not how the real world works, unfortunately. You have to like cut out all the details and like add in memes and make it entertaining and funny and stuff like that. But long story short, like what I'm doing is just like doing the best I can to be first to some topic, or at least first to some angle, and figuring out a way to make it like as general as possible.
Yeah, with like as you said, if you want to focus on growth, it quite often, yeah, as you said, you have to sacrifice some things. You've got to just do what works as opposed to what you want to do. And with me, I found like I've just tried different types of videos that I like to do, and some of them work better than others. And so long as I like to do it and it works well, that's usually a good mix. So, for example, the multiplayer stuff. I enjoy doing the multiplayer stuff, and it's like my biggest... It's what all my views are coming in for. Multiplayer is like the main focus right now. And I think it is because there's just not a lot of content on it. It's just not really that big of a topic. And like you say, if you want to grow, you have to stick in memes and jokes all the time. And, you know, I do tutorials, and yeah, you can joke around in tutorials a bit, but, you know, people are there to learn. There isn't a reason why people are there. You know, you'll go to your, you know, Danny if you want to have funny game dev videos, but you don't go to Danny if you want to learn how to code. So there has to be that balance, you know. If I just...
But the truth is, the unfortunate truth of like the platform or YouTube is that like there are far more people that want to see memes and get entertained and laugh at like game dev stuff versus like the amount of people that want to learn about how to actually apply it. And it's just the unfortunate truth of like what is incentivized is to go more the Danny route.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And like if everyone does that, then it becomes like quite oversaturated. And like I said, you know, people want multiplayer tutorials. I'm quite aware of that. People have told me. And I make them. Sure, they're not going to get as many views as the new big trending video, but I don't really care, you know? Like, as long as it does good on my standards, like, compared to my videos, then I know it's done well. Because it's not like I'm competing against myself, but if I do a video on something people really, really want, and it doesn't do as well as something I didn't think people wanted, then, you know, clearly I have to study the analytics more and see what is actually working. But yeah, multiplayer stuff is just at the top now. I enjoy it, people want it, so it works. I don't tend to do things just because people want it if I don't like doing it. Like, I used to do Discobot tutorials for a while, and then I kind of thought, okay, I've milked this enough. I can't think of anything else really interesting to cover for it. I've taught enough so that anyone can follow along and then make their own bot do whatever they like, but I still got people demanding I make more. And at that point, I didn't have good ideas, and I was bored of it, so I moved on, you know, like... And yeah, again, it's also about like the vocal minority on YouTube. You know, you'll find more people telling you what you did wrong than what you did right, because if you do something right, people just tend to be happy and not say anything. They're like, cool.
Invisible.
They might drop a like, but comments, you know, sure you get positive comments, but you know, you also, I mean, tutorials are not that toxic really. Most people are just happy and, you know, happy for the education, but when you get into the other areas of YouTube, like gaming and other stuff, you know, it can get a bit more toxic. But yeah, game dev's a pretty nice community for the most part. The arguments are usually just about, oh, I use this engine, I use this language, I use this framework. You know, that's as far as the arguments go, I think. You know, you should write.
Oh yeah, you think you're good at coding? Where I built my own engine from scratch. How about that?
Yeah, there's a bit of elitism, a bit. You know, people aren't happy with beginners being led differently. Like, if someone's just new to multiplayer and I'm doing mirror tutorials, but someone else thinks, no, this beginner should go and learn Photon multiplayer, they might get annoyed. Like, you should teach this instead. And it's like, sorry, but I'm teaching this. You know, it's like, you can't make everyone happy. I can't teach every multiplayer framework in existence. I can't, you know, make a video to answer every single request in the comments. Otherwise, I'd be making multiple videos every day for the rest of my life. Like, you know, there's more requests than there is time to make good videos. So yeah, scrolling down in chat, and I wish there were timestamps here, but there's loads of people talking about C#, C#, C# gang, C# for the win. This probably was when we were talking about best languages to get into game dev, maybe, from a bit ago. Have we ever tried to make our own engine? Oh, we probably already answered that. No. Well, no, I've tried very briefly. I wouldn't say I really tried, but I looked into it. Elena was saying, yeah, English is definitely a good language to learn. You know, documentation, you'll be lucky to find it if it's in another language. And the actual APIs you use, the functions you call, the data types you use, they'll be in English. Like, for the most part, I
Yo,
imagine.
real quick, have you ever looked at like Japanese Unity script?
Nope.
It's the most interesting thing. You'll have like vector 3 and then like katakana. It's like so interesting. Oh, vector 3 would be numbers, but like you have like a function and then like the actual like language is like katakana
Is the
sandwiched in between like vector 3.
I'm trying to like visualize what that would look like. I'll okay. I always say during stream when we talk about something interesting, I'll look at that after stream. Then after stream, I'm like, I am tired. I'm gonna go do something else. So I usually forget, but maybe I'll keep that in mind. That is something that was interesting. I didn't realize they had support for other languages in the engine, like for the actual coding part.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly how that's done. Maybe there's like some like language interpreter in between or something like that. But or I don't know. The characters, Unicode, I'm not sure. But I seen the image of that like a year or two ago, and I was like, that's so mind bending.
Yeah, like I'm trying to think if I've seen some like people doing coding tutorials or streams or videos in other languages, but I don't recall ever seeing, even if they're French, Spanish, talking in French and Spanish on stream, they still code in English because it's just how it works, you know? Like they've got to pick
Right.
one.
I'm
They got
pretty
to
sure the tutorial.
yeah.
Go ahead.
It's like they've got to pick something and be consistent. So it's English. It just is. It's the most accessible. You know, as someone who is English, I'm a bit biased. I'm not going to comment on like whether it should or shouldn't be English, but it's like it's going to be impossible to change it now because how much of our like technology is built up on this. It can't just change one day. So yeah, I don't know. Does it make sense to work in a company based on does it make more sense to work for a company or to like make your own indie company effectively? Asking if it makes more sense, you have to ask per person, I'd say. You know, it's definitely a lot safer to work for a company because they already have money and reasonably stable jobs. But if you're doing your own company, you get a lot more freedom. Will be the main benefit, but also a lot more responsibility and a lot more stuff you have to do. And it's kind of like with the game engine thing. If you want to make, well, actually, that's a bad analogy because there's plenty of successful indie game devs, but you've got to definitely put in a lot more work. It's the same with starting a company of any kind, in my opinion. You can either just go and work at a company that does something or do it yourself, where you get more freedom, but you also get a lot more responsibility. I guess it depends on what kind of person you are, if you like having the responsibility, or if you just want to work and get it done with and go home, and get paid, as opposed to managing all this other stuff. I don't know. What is are you a full-time, like you said, full-time content creator? So is that is full-time job?
Yeah.
Yeah. Is that entirely like YouTube, or do you do other platform stuff?
Yeah, it's mostly from, well, I wouldn't say YouTube, the platform itself. Most of my income comes from like sponsored deals and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Grants and stuff like that.
Yeah, YouTube itself, I mean, I don't know how much it pays for bigger creators, but I don't make a living off YouTube, let's put it that way. YouTube is just like a bit on the side, Ad revenue is ad revenue. People use ad block, and also ads don't, yeah?
I'll tell you this.
Mm-hmm.
AdSense can change your life. It can change your life. I'll just leave it at
leave it at that. Okay. I mean, like I said, I do have ads on the channel. It's just not like the main source of income. And some people will stick like 10 ads on a video. I try and to not have more than 2, like maybe 2 if it's a long enough video to justify 2. But I know it's annoying if I watch videos and it has too many ads. So yeah. And I also know that if I add a few more ads to a video, it's not like it's going to make me much more money, but it's just going to make people more annoyed. So I don't think the trade-off's really there. It's not like if you do 10 ads, you're going to get 10 times the money magically. It just doesn't work out that way. Because people have to actually, watch the ads. If you do too many ads, people might just stop watching, and then it's actually bad for the channel. So, yeah. Or you encourage people, because you got so many ads, to just use ad block, so you get no ads for that person. Yeah, too many ads is usually not a good idea. We're all the way down here now, trying to keep up with the chat, but the chat's going faster than us. Any advice on learning game development? I've been making things like Mario and Pong, but can't really do anything else. So I guess it's a question of, how do you transfer the knowledge from making something you've got now, like, as you say, Mario or Pong, to make something you actually want to make. Because the skills are quite transferable in game dev. I mean, once you know how to use rigid bodies, you know how to use rigid bodies, but how do you apply that to different genres of games and stuff? I don't know if I have any good advice for this. I might have to think. Do you have anything to say? There's so many questions about getting into game dev. It's hard to answer, but yeah.
The immediate question that comes to my mind is like, why did you start in the first place? Like, what made you want to recreate Mario and Pong, and really just tap into that to inspire an original idea I think you're seeking. That's the first thing that comes to my mind. It would be a conversation that I would like to have with the person.
Yeah, if, like you said, a passion of games got you into game dev, and assuming you might have a project in mind and your struggle is actually implementing it, that could be a problem if you struggle with the programming side, or maybe it's with the planning side. Like, I know how to code, but how do I make this thing? Because, for example, in Unity, just knowing how to code C#, you'll have to learn about mono behaviors, scriptable objects, just how all the callbacks work for, start update. And, I guess the answer could vary based on whether it's a lack of inspiration or a lack of coding knowledge or how to implement it. So, yeah, it is kind of a hard question to answer, but yeah, the general thing is, look at what got you interested in the first place, and hopefully that can help guide you in how to do it. Yet so many philosophical questions. I'm not the best person to ask for these. I get so many of them, and I always... Oh, police is going past. Because I gave a bad answer. I don't know.
Well, coming for you.
Yeah. Will I continue my mirror tutorials? I will. I've not just, stopped. It's just a case of, like we said before, I did loads of mirror tutorials in a row, and I thought, there's people here that want to watch other stuff too, and I also don't want to just do this for the rest of my life, so I've just chucked in some other stuff on localization and UI stuff and whatever else, and some Steam stuff, and I will be doing multiplayer again. I usually plan my videos either the day of doing them or the day before. I have some kind of idea in mind of what I want to do, because I usually do one a week, so, and tutorials don't need as much planning as other videos need, more entertaining side. I want to cover this thing, and I know how to cover it. Let's teach it. So, yeah.
Do you usually just do a one take and then edit it, or what's your process?
Yeah, I usually so have something in mind. Let's say the other day I did a video on the new UI stuff, so I decided to make a little kind of demo project as the goal for the video. I was mainly teaching how to use it, not how to make some magnificent magnificent UI. So I was like, all right, people want to know with the new stuff how to actually change text on the UI and how to use button callbacks to do something. So I made a simple menu with a counter, and you click a button and the counter updates, and how to do that with the new UI stuff. So I then just made the project. It's cool, this is good enough for the video. Shoved it onto my second monitor, made a new project. And then, because it's a new thing, I did the installation process and stuff. And then, I do it in one big recording, and then it's just cuts. It's just loads of cuts. So if for a 15-minute video, the raw footage could be half an hour, depending on how much I slip up on words, or, stuff I don't think about when I'm planning, and then I have to think about it while I'm recording, and I can cut it all together and it works. But, yeah. So someone asked, do people think... Do we think we'll be judged negatively if we use documentation during a YouTube video? I mean, I don't ever have the documentation up on my main screen unless I'm actually telling people, like, use this when you're learning this thing. If I need it for myself, I'll just have it on my other monitor and I'll look between cuts. So, you know, it might just jog my memory, but I don't just, like, rely on it and stare at the other screen. I mean, I don't even use I don't have a webcam in my tutorials, so yeah, but I don't think people judge you.
What was the question exactly?
Yeah, whether people judge you negatively for using documentation for your videos and, like, when developing a game. I don't think people do. Or at least I don't think they should. Why should you be judged negatively for using documentation? It's why it exists. Like, yeah.
I agree.
Where are we up to now? Okay, we're down here. As a beginner, should I make a ton of small games or try to make a big one? Which would help me get better faster? I mean, I would lean... Yeah. Oh, go on.
If that's your binary choices, I would definitely say a ton of small games because you get to learn the most important component, which is finishing a game.
Yeah, if you want to make one big project and something like... It's like rapid iteration because with loads of small games, you can try out different genres and you get to try out a lot of different things. If you just force yourself to make one game, you might finish it, but there'll be a lot of things you might not have even covered because you've been focused on this one, let's say, genre. You might be making a first-person shooter, but then if you made loads of side projects, you might make like a really quick first-person shooter and then a card game and a this and a that. And from doing that, you'd learn so much more about the whole process of stuff. So yeah, I'd recommend that. It doesn't mean you have to do it, but that would be my recommendation. Yeah, what's this? Well, people are talking about shaders, Stack Overflow. All right, here we go. How do we manage our time? We have a lot of things to do. We have a lot of things to do in 24 hours. Do we ever self-destruct when messing stuff up? Well, I guess self-destruct could mean whatever. For me, if I ever get like super stressed out when I'm working on something, I'll just go lie on my bed face down and just like think. Or I don't know. I think just lying down helps me think sometimes.
Yeah, for me the answer is yes, absolutely. The solution for me, oftentimes I like to ride bikes and scooters and stuff like that. I'll just go like grab one of them with some headphones and just like go on a ride, you know, with some good chill music. And then oftentimes like I'll think about exactly what's going on, why am I frustrated, what's the problem, and oftentimes like that break is enough to get some clarity. Sometimes I have to come back to wherever I was working and bust out the paper and write out the problem that I'm facing and whatnot. But yeah, absolutely, it happens all the time. I think it's a normal part of problem solving. Like regardless of what field you're in, it's just a problem solving part of the process, you know?
Yeah, you hear about the people who say like, you know, you might be stuck on something and the second you go to sleep, the idea or the solution pops into your head, or you get in the shower, you go to the toilet, whatever, you go outside, just doing something else clears your mind and then it just pops in. If you just sit there staring at your computer and you get bored, you get tired, you get stressed, it's just, yeah, it makes it harder to solve the problem. It's like you shouldn't associate the hours spent on a project with the quality necessarily. Because you could spend those hours just staring at the screen and not actually doing anything.
I tell you, one of the greatest things I've learned over the last few years is it's really important.
Yep.
Know when you are sleepy. It is really important. If I were to accumulate all the hours that I spent just trying to work on like the most simplest like linear algebra equation, like the simplest thing you possibly think about, it's insane. Versus if I just would have went to sleep, woke up, had a fresh mind, oh yeah, that's A plus B equals C, duh. You know, just know when you're tired and go to sleep. Don't waste that 4 hours.
Yeah, I'll stay up sometimes. I'd say I'm quite nocturnal. Like, I work well at night, but I also then, because I stay up late, I get stuff done, I wake up, and then it's like quite late in the morning, and I feel bad. I'm like, all my friends and stuff and whoever else, they all get up at like 7 a.m. I might have woke up at 10 or something. But I don't feel bad because, like, sure, when I stayed up late, I wasn't just watching Netflix or something. I was working and getting stuff done. And I do work well at night. I find at night, most people aren't online, like my friends, so I have no distractions. It's peaceful, quiet, and I can work on something. But yeah, sleep, like in general, you know, you still do need sleep, because I don't think I've ever fallen asleep in my chair working, but I have gone to crash out on my bed because I think, like, I'm stuck on this problem. If I go and lie down, I'll think about it. Next thing I know, I've fallen to sleep because I needed sleep. And I didn't think I needed sleep, but maybe I did. Maybe. Sometimes programmers...
I'm at the point now where like I have to be moving. If I'm not moving, I will fall asleep. Like that's how much sleep depth I've accumulated over the last few decades. It's bad.
I always tend to like spin in my chair like this. I feel like on stream I try and stay as still as possible because it's probably distracting people if I just start spinning on my chair. But yeah, just keeping moving. You know, this isn't as active as a programmer needs to be. You know, just spinning in your chair. Yeah, I'm probably quite bad when it comes to, like, I know a lot of people have like standing desks and they go on regular walks. I probably need to do that a bit more, maybe, but I don't know. You know, everyone's different. What's we doing? Shader. Oh, we were already there. All right, yeah, we answered the question about yeah, where was the self-destruct question? Oh, here we go. Yep, found it. Okay, so past this, what is the thing we're most proud of, presumably in this industry, in this area that we've done? Like, what are you most proud of? Weren't prepared for this. Yeah, I'll need to think. I'd say, like, in terms of the channel, like the channel itself, like getting it to where it is now, because when I started the channel, it was just like the odd video of, hey, look what I made this week, and then a few people asked, can we have tutorials? And I started tutorials, and I was like, sure, just be a thing on the side, whatever, I'm at school. And then, who knows, like a year or two later, here I am doing this. So I guess, yeah, I'm proud of the fact that I managed to get to this spot that I didn't expect to. And everyone has that thought, and I'm thinking now, like, I'm sure I'll be further than what I expect I'll be in a year. Everyone always underestimates, I think, like, how fast growth is, because it is exponential. Like, if I remember how much we grew in the last 1 year, and then I think a year ahead from now, it'll probably be more than I can even think about. So yeah, I don't know, I'd say I'm proud of the channel and community and everything, as soppy as it sounds, and as, like, you know, maybe it was a bad answer, I don't know.
Yeah, I think I would agree with that. Pride for me is measured by like how much change I can affect. So I think that like the biggest change that I have been able to make is with the YouTube channel. So I definitely probably would agree with that as well. But I think close second is my indie game title, Staggered. And the reason why I say that is because you know, I think that a lot of us here that are in this stream have dreams of like releasing a game at some point if they haven't done it already. And when I did my playtest party a couple years ago, just getting all the feedback and everyone was like really happy about the project and really wanted to see it get released and had a lot of fun with it. Like that was another prideful moment for me as well. But I think it's like minuscule to what the channel has done.
Yeah, if I look at like comments and people in my Discord server, like the amount of people who I realize like I either help them get into programming or help them learn a new part of programming, that's something to be proud about. Like the amount of people that you know, helped out that maybe wouldn't have got into it otherwise. I mean, like my main motivation was, you know, the fact I liked games, so therefore I wanted to look into how they were made and so on. So I kind of, I guess, motivated myself, or you could argue the games that I played motivated me, like, because they're, you know, cool games that I want to learn how they were made. And then now I do games mainly, but obviously some other stuff too. And the amount of people who message me or say in the comments, like, I don't, it's a really good feeling to know that you've helped someone learn something. And with the assumption that maybe they wouldn't have learned it otherwise, so you can feel good about that. Don't go to Danny if you want to learn how to code. Truer words have never been spoken, says someone. Yeah. I think Danny had like one coding tutorial.
I kind of agree with that, but I kind of also disagree with that. Only for the fact that, like, sure, Danny's content is like high entertainment, but I think at the same time it's exposing a new audience to like game development can be fun and it can be quirky and it can be filled with memes and all that stuff. And I think that like the change that he is affecting is bringing this new audience to Unity and to C# and to coding. I kind of agree with both.
I agree. No, that's what I was thinking too. Like, you don't go to him to learn the programming, but he does motivate a lot of people to want to learn it. It's like the kind of entry to it for a lot of people. Like you say, a lot of people that watch him aren't, or at least weren't, into game dev at all, and now maybe they are. So it does bring in a lot of people. Even if it's just entertainment, entertainment's still a good way to get people into things. It's like, if you'd never played games before and you saw people being entertaining playing games, then maybe you'd be into playing games, or it can be anything really. If you find like maybe there's a certain sport you've never played before, but you see people having a lot of fun with it, then that'll make you maybe want to try it. So it's the same. It's the same with this. Do I consider dots like ECS and Unity to be bad? I mean, it's not bad. It's I don't know if you can't really say it's good or bad. It has its purpose, and it's not currently production ready, so I'm not going to say too much about it, and I'm not an expert anyway. But I don't know like how games are going to be made in the next few years. Things change. Everyone's saying functional programming is the best. This type of programming is the best. That type of programming is the best. OOP is bad, and it's like it doesn't mean everyone should stop doing it, because then like nothing would get made. And ECS is, I don't know, how much have you looked at ECS or messed with it maybe?
I love dots. I absolutely love dots. I've done a couple of demos with it. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I've made little demos. I made a project for someone, like really small physics demo that probably might have worked with normal Unity, but the performance, the amount of stuff, the fact it was that smooth with, it has its use definitely. And the way I see it is like, I don't see why in the future it's not like every game can just be made with dots, because if they put enough time into it, I think the main reason people don't want to use it now is because it's too complicated. But I imagine it can be made less complicated. It's just because it's so new, I'm sure when Unity first came out and when like everyone was learning OOP, it probably seemed kind of complicated. Like there's so much stuff you have to learn about. It's just a case of everyone knows that now. So when you look at dots, it's just a new thing you have to learn how it all works. But yeah, it's like fundamentally it's better in performance and like reuse of code, and probably more than I can think of right now. But it's just in a state where you don't want to be using it for like every project, and it's not fully ready yet. When they say it's ready, then it's ready, I guess. Or still got a bit to wait. But I'm still looking out for it, and I made some dots tutorials, and I'll be doing more again. But about a couple weeks after I made them, people are saying this version's out of date. So I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna wait until it's stable before I make tutorials, because the tutorial's kind of useless now unless you want to learn it using an old version. So it's too much to keep on top of updates like that.
Yeah, it's interesting that you bring that up. Like for you being a tutorial guy, this is something I've never really thought about, is at the fact that it's something that's in production. Like, anytime I heard that, a package was in production, I never really cared, because, I don't have the burden of teaching it. But like hearing your perspective, that makes complete sense. If something's in production, then there's no point in you make a tutorial on it, because who knows how long that's going to be of value. Yeah. It's interesting.
I don't most of the time I use the stable versions, but I do like to do videos on the new stuff, because first of all, if no one did it because it was in preview, then you wouldn't hear about it until it's ready. And I think it's good to hear about what's coming to at least be prepared. And like with dots, if you go and learn dots now, you can understand it so that when it comes out, even if it's changed a bit, you still know how to use it. You might have to relearn some of the functions and the way you do it, but once you learn dots, you know dots. And it's like with the new UI system. It's going to change between my video the other week and when it comes out. But I still wanted to do a video saying, this is coming. It's in preview. It's not ready yet. But this is how it works. You get the understanding of how it works. Then when it comes out, I'll do an update. It'll be relevant. But yeah, you don't want to, do something that's too early in preview where the week after it's outdated and you've wasted your time and whatever. So yeah, you have to have that balance of people like knowing about new stuff, but they don't want to only know about new stuff. Because like I said, in my video, I'm telling people don't use this in your proper games, but maybe use it in your side projects because, it's a good thing to learn now. So when it comes out, you're ahead of the game. You already know how to use it.
Makes sense.
Yeah. Miley was saying, well, she sent some Japanese. So that's probably something to do with the Japanese scripting stuff. I mean, yeah. I know, like, how to read a little bit of Japanese, but, like, barely anything at all. So I'm not even going to attempt it. I'm going to just move on. But she asked you, I think she asked you earlier, she pinged you earlier, but yeah, what's the most challenging algorithm you've faced so far? I don't know how you answer that necessarily, but...
The first thing on top of my mind, anything that deals with calculus is a pain to translate into code. What else? I just did something recently that was killing me. What did I do? I'd say basically anything with calculus, it's really annoying to implement. It's probably the hardest.
Yeah, most of the stuff, like, people sometimes get put off coding because they think they're not good enough at math or maths, but you don't need to be good at it to get into it. It's just certain areas you do need it for. And to be honest, most of the stuff I've done, like multiplayer networking, and like I mainly focus on like most of the stuff I do is game systems, how to build these systems you find in all your games, whether that's like state machines, dealing damage, like event stuff, multiplayer. I don't know. It's like how to make stuff work. I don't do like shaders where you need all the shader math. I don't do AI where you need all that stuff. So I actually tend to avoid that, not intentionally. I just don't need to use it. So I'm a bit rusty with all my stuff like that.
It's funny you bring that up. I would say like the high level shader language it's at least when I first learned it was quite difficult, only because it's a different paradigm. And I want to give a huge thanks to Unity's shader graph. That's helped me understand like how to write the shader language a lot better. But also Preda brought up a good point about the quantum algorithms. This is completely different than, you don't need this to make games at all. But I did do a video recently, my latest video a couple of days ago, in which I partnered up with IBM's team called Qiskit and was trying to write quantum algorithms, and that is a nightmare. And the reason is because like to write a quantum algorithm, you have to be good at math, unfortunately, because at the moment you have to do a bunch of like rotations, like quaternion rotations on qubits. Yeah, so I changed my answer. That was probably the hardest thing I've worked on so far.
I saw that video come up, and I think I watched a little bit of it, or at least I like told myself that I'd watch it later. But I've done that with a lot of videos right now. I should probably use the YouTube watch later feature. I never actually used that, but yeah.
It was you who killed my retention time.
That'll be it. Yeah, I just gave it 1 second and then left. No, I don't know if I actually ended up clicking on it, but I will watch it and go all the way through at some point.
It was you who killed my CTR click-through rate.
Yep. I've just single-handedly destroyed your channel on my own. Yep. All right, Elena has hopped off, though that was quite a few messages ago, so she's probably been gone for a good 10 minutes now or something. What else here? Who was Luca? Because we must have talked about him before. That was the person about Mario and Pong. So they said, so basically I should start working on my dream game, and for every problem find some tutorials in every aspect I want to implement in that game. Well, that's if you're going the route of building, like, yeah, you're building one game and it's quite not too big in scope, but there's definitely stuff in there you don't know yet. So yeah, I tend to just keep going, keep getting through stuff until I hit a roadblock, and then I go and research that one thing, implement it, and then keep on going. And that usually works for me, but I don't know.
I'd say yes, absolutely. Hearing like these line of questions sounds like you're relatively new to the space, and you know it's really relatively easy to listen to people that's been doing it for a while, and they talk about all their different strategies on how to do it. But I think that sometimes the best way to learn is just to fail. So
Yeah.
it's like, yeah, do it. If you have a dream game in mind, just get started, man. Like or woman. And at some point, you'll either come to a crossroad where you're either like, okay, this is way more difficult than I thought, or you'll be like, it's hard, but I'm gonna push on, and you might make the next Undertale or the next Five Nights at Freddy's or whatever it may be. So, absolutely.
Yeah, like whenever people ask me for advice, I can't guarantee like it'll just work for you. That's not how advice works, you know. I can say what worked for me and what might, you know, the other options out there, but yeah, just like you say, just trying it, and if it works, it works, and if it doesn't, it doesn't, but you learn something no matter what. So when you make project number 2, you're just that bit better, and you know, it just means you spend less time researching stuff you now know. Yeah, you just know how to avoid certain pitfalls, like or you know new shortcuts. So just you always learn something new with every project. Even now, I'm still learning new little things. Like there was some shortcut I learned like a month ago that I'm surprised I only just learned. It was like Control-Shift-F to snap an object to where your camera is and where it's facing. And I'm like, how did I live without knowing that? It's so useful. But yeah, the way I used to do it is just like drag the object like on the axes and just keep getting it closer to where I want it to be. And I'm like, oh no, I can just hit some control shit. What?
Yikes. I couldn't imagine, man.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's like with shortcuts, maybe I should have in the past spent a time just reading through a like list of all the shortcuts, or the, you know, there's it's quite useful on Twitter. They do the Unity Tips Day or whatever it is. Quite often learn something on there. And then when I use it in my videos,
this is just my general take on it. I think that like, listen, you're gonna learn it when you learn it. Like, I hate the idea of like people, oh, I wish I should have known about this. No, not really. You know, you learn it when you learn it. And then the reason why I say that is because like there's no reason to add pressure to new developers that they have all these expectations of what they should know or why they don't know this thing. It's like, you'll get to it when you get to it, you know? No reason to stress about it.
Yeah, I'm sure there's people who have been using Unity for a week who know something that I don't know because it's just how it is. It's especially like, depending on what type of game you're making, you might learn about a certain area of the engine and you might never use another part. And someone else is the opposite. They might be like an expert at all the little things with the animator, but your game might not even use the animator. And so when you come to use it a year later, you're like, damn, I've been using Unity for a year and I don't know how to do this. But it's just because you haven't needed to, you know? It's kind of a waste of time to just learn every feature of the engine before you try making anything, because you'll forget it. You truly learn something when you need to use it, is when you like remember it the best.
I just learned about the animator blend trees last night.
Oh, okay. That's a good example. Yeah. Like, yeah, those are very useful. I don't do much animating, but when I have, and I've made the idle walking and running animation, blend trees are just, I mean, I don't know any other way to make the smooth transition. It's there for a reason. It's really useful. But like you say, if you've never needed to use it before, then you don't know. Yeah, it's just how it is. So you shouldn't feel ashamed that if you've been using Unity for many years and you just learned something new, it's like, oh no, I'm not going to tell anyone. I only just learned that. I sometimes tell people because I think it's funny, like, hey, I only just learned about this thing. And they're like, I learned about that 2 years ago. And it's like, well, you know, it's like, even someone who makes tutorials, people seem to think I know everything. I'm not all knowing. I probably know what I'm talking about in my videos, but apart from that, you know, don't assume I know. People ask me to do videos on things, and I'm like, I don't know how to do that. It's like, if I'm interested, maybe I'll learn it and do a video, but, you know, sometimes people expect that I know everything. Sadly, I don't know everything, but I guess if you knew everything, you'd never learn anything new. So that's that.
I agree.
So many questions. best tips for motivation and to keep on programming. I see a lot of these questions are just like rewording like of previous questions. So yeah, I don't know. To keep going is, like we said earlier, to have a goal in mind that you really want to reach, and that'll be the motivation you need. Yeah, if you're programming something that you don't actually care about, then that's probably why you're losing interest. So make sure you're working on something you want to work on, and you'll work better. You'll get more stuff done. You'll be happier. I think that's the general takeaway from this. Yeah, Miley was saying it's Tuesday tips, so watch out on Tuesday on Twitter for Unity tips every Tuesday. How are you interacting with the chat and listening to questions at the same time? You must just be good. That's what someone said in chat, but yeah, multitasking. I guess.
How do you know I'm doing both at the same time?
Have you got another person back there? You've got someone in the chat. You've got a little like monkey typing away in the chat or something. I don't know. Would we ever use Unreal instead of Unity? I mean, I have used it because I wanted to know what it was like. And I didn't really have an amazing experience, but I didn't have the worst experience in the world. I mainly had problems like I wanted to not use blueprints, at least for the most part. I wanted to actually learn the C++, and that was fine, except the code compile time it just took ages for some reason, and I googled it, and IntelliSense was broken, and I googled it, and people were like, yeah, I have this problem too, and you need to use this Visual Studio like tool to get IntelliSense in Unreal Engine, and the code compiling's really, really, really slow, and as the project gets bigger, it's worse, and I just thought, yeah, back to Unity. So that's my experience with Unreal. It's been a while since I've used it.
Yeah, I still need to check out Unreal. My opposition for Unreal, it's like I don't really care what game engine you use, but me personally, it's purely philosophical. Every time that Unreal is marketed, it's always like cutting edge graphics, the best graphics there is, Unreal Engine. I don't give a shit about graphics. I personally don't care. And so that's always been something that has kept me from going to Unreal. And every time that like I see some feature in Unreal, I always check if Unity has it, and it's like either they have it or it's on the horizon, and it's like pretty comfy here.
Yeah, I don't see a need to use it. There's nothing like that I try making and then it just isn't supported in Unity. You can either find the thing you need in Unity, or an add-on or an asset, or help on the forums. You can make what you need. Like I said, Unreal is graphics, and Unity's catching up, or I don't know. I'm not a big on the graphics side, so someone will tell me, no, this shadow map thing is not as good as that, or something like that. I don't know, but
even if it does catch up, I don't care.
Yeah, like I don't make games that need the cutting edge graphics, realistic to the pixel. I'm not trying to make a character that is indistinguishable from a human. Like my things that I make are yeah, I saw the message in chat. I saw the message in chat. No. I'm reading the chat,
They got us, Preda. Dapper, he figured us out.
I mean, how else do you think I know about all these questions they're asking? I'm reading every message, or trying to at least.
Is that what's going on? Dang it.
I need someone to just send me all the questions. So, because honestly, I spend most of my time here just like reading through all the chats that people are having in there, trying to like pick out the questions from it. I mean,
there is no right or wrong way. You're
what?
doing fine, Dapper.
Yeah, it's it is what it is. It's a casual Q&A stream. People ask questions, we answer. It's what it is. It is what it is. How this is a question. How did you learn all you know? I mean, my entire knowledge of everything in this world, just like, so we'll start off from the day I was born. Yeah, no. How did I learn? I guess, okay, I think the question really means like, well, I started learning some programming in school, and I then wanted to know C# so I could use Unity. So I self-taught C# using tutorials, documentation, the forums, Udemy. I've tried every like bit, and then from there, like once you know some languages, it's easy to learn new languages, new frameworks. You can take over your own learning at that point. Like you don't need to necessarily rely on other people. I still do sometimes watch tutorials, even ones that I know how to do the thing, to see if they do it differently. Because you know, I'm quite a firm believer in, you know, there isn't just one way to do something. So I'm always interested in like, oh, they did it that way, and I see why. Maybe it's better than the way I did it, in my opinion, or for what I'm trying to apply it to. So yeah, I like watching like Sebastian Lark's channel. That's always fascinating. Just like tons of math that I don't get, but it makes cool visuals, and I'm like, ooh. I have learned some stuff from him as well. Like I actually learned how to model and rig a character from one of his older videos he had on that. He made like this really simple person with like the joints being just spheres, so they didn't have to worry about like bending the mesh and stuff. You didn't have to think about weight painting, though I have looked into weight painting, and yeah, I've learned quite a bit of stuff. I still do watch tutorials, just a lot less than what I used to. But yeah, I guess answering that question is basically started learning in school, and then I took over and started self-teaching because I wanted to learn more than what they were teaching. And I like self-teaching. I just prefer it to listening to a teacher, even though I make tutorials. It's not really hypocritical, is it? I mean, you know, you can like to learn differently than how you teach, I guess.
Yeah. I don't think there's anything wrong with that at all.
Yeah.
Just to try and answer the question, I because it's such like a philosophical question and broad, I'm gonna answer philosophical as well. There was this commercial I used to play all the time when I was a kid. It was for Fruit Loops, I believe, the cereal Fruit Loops, and they had this toucan mascot called Toucan Sam, and the phrase that he would always say was "Follow your nose wherever it goes," meaning just like be curious, and wherever your curiosity leads you, you'll end up in a good place. So that's how I know all that I know. Is I've just continually followed my nose wherever it goes.
All because of cereal.
All because of cereal. Thank you.
Yeah.
High fructose breakfast meals.
Not sponsored, by the way. But that's...
Speak for yourself.
Okay. Yeah. We've got secret sponsors, but then we get in trouble with YouTube if we didn't publicly say that. But yeah, use your cereal boxes to give you inspiration on how to learn in life. That's the takeaway from this stream, if anything. I'm completely new to programming, and it's really upsetting because I don't understand the logic of coding. It seems like it doesn't make sense. Any advice? Well, I mean, fundamentally, programming, it's all about instructions. It's all about telling a computer what to do, and the computer will do what you tell it to do. So, I guess the struggle is really understanding what do you actually want to tell the computer to do, because, like, you know, a game is very complicated. I mean, at the end of the day, it's just data. Everything's just data, right? Like, you know, you think about your game, you've got your, I don't know, first-person shooter is just the first thing that comes to mind because it's the one everyone asks for. It's like, you've got your character, and it has a position in the scene, so that's some data, and maybe they're moving, so you've got maybe some velocity, that's just more data, and then you input, and that's just the computer reading your input, and then that input gets converted into data for the velocity. You know, like, everything is just data, and I guess it's all about understanding what data is needed where to make stuff work. I don't know how to answer that question. How do you help someone understand the logic of coding? It's another difficult question. Do you have any? No.
This is just off the top of my head. I
Yeah.
probably would just go back to math, just give some basic math lessons, because, you know,
Yeah.
that's another deterministic system that can show you logic, maybe a little philosophy. That's a difficult question to answer.
Yeah, because, you know, it's hard to understand just from a message in chat, like, what it is you do and don't understand, and there's a lot more to it.
Right.
But like you said, coding, it's all about, you know, simple adding stuff together. It's all about math, but also like object-oriented programming. You got to learn about classes, references, functions. You know, there are those fundamentals, and usually once you know the fundamentals, then applying them well, by the sounds of it, you're not at the stage of applying them. It's at the stage of understanding just how it works in the first place. So I find a good way to solidify programming is there's good websites that give you little challenges, like, hey, here's some data. Can you do this with it? Can you take the string and reverse it? Can you take this list and get me all the odd elements or whatever? Just like those little challenges, they're really short. You don't have to spend a lot of time doing them, and they can really help you practice how to do it. And there's usually like discussions of people giving their different solutions and explaining why you do it this way or that way, and they usually support like any language you can think of. So I think that's helped me in the past, like with some practicing. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, again, more philosophical questions about how to learn, and there is no answer. We just can try. We can do our best at giving our answers. Okay. Yeah, we read that question now. Code to learn, not learn to code, is some more advice people have given in chat, or what someone's given in chat. I guess, do I agree with that? Like, learn to code, code to learn? I don't think it's one or the other, but I think they're both valid. Like you say, you might have something in mind, so you learn to code so you can make that thing. Wait, I'm trying to like now actually saying it in my head, like code to learn, not learn to code. Yeah. If you have your game in mind and then you code to make the game and you learn from that, like, yeah, it's really messing up my head now. I'm trying to like wrap my head around the meaning of that. What do you say?
I think that they're both like positive connotations. I'm pretty sure it's a remix of one for all for one, basically. I
mean, there's the thing about like teach a man to fish or whatever. What is it? Like,
right.
I can't remember the full.
Catch a fish,
yeah,
they'll eat.
They'll eat for a day.
Catch a fish, they'll eat for a day.
Teach them how to fish, they'll eat for. Yeah, we're really butchering this this quote, but you get the general point. The general point is, you know, that's also ties in with the whole copying and pasting code. Like, if you just take the code, sure, you have your code, but you don't know how to use it, to how it works, to modify it. If you actually learn how to write that code, then you can do so much more in the future from that. So yeah, okay. Oh yeah, someone asked about favorite indie games recently. Is Hades an indie game? How big's the company that made Hades? Do you know Hades?
Yeah, I'm familiar.
Yeah, I know they've made other games before, but I think they're a relatively small studio. They're not like a huge AAA company that I don't think they are. So that's like, in general, my favorite game recently from as far as I'm aware, a relatively small team. It's not got like hundreds of people working on it, I don't think. But yeah, that's been a really good game I've enjoyed recently. I think it's the only new game I've played recently is Hades. Just been having quite a bit of fun with it. Yeah, other indie games. It's been a while since I've played any of this.
Mine has to be Baba Is You. Been loving that game. Bad North has been another really fun game I've been playing. And then I don't know if they count as an indie studio or not, but Adult Swim's games released that Samurai Jack game. I've been enjoying the hell out of that.
With the Baba Is You, I think, did Game Maker Toolkit do a video on that? Someone did a video on it.
Yeah, he did.
And I saw it in the video, and yeah, it was really cool. Like, people always say, like, when you think up of a game idea, someone else will have already thought of that idea. But that's something where I thought, I don't know, it's pretty unique. Like, it looks really good. And in Bad North, I think that's been out for a while. Like, it's still like a good indie game, and because I know a friend that he likes playing all those kind of games like Civ and all these like army games and stuff, and just the whole, you know, managing of units. And yeah, it's like, I really like the art style of Bad North as well. I've never played it personally, but I've seen it and it looks cool. Yeah.
Oscar Stahlberg, he's the developer. He's an artist first, which is why it looks so beautiful.
Oh yeah, and there's the other game that is it Cityscape? No, what's that? There's that game that he's making, all like, I don't know if you call it a game, but it's like sandbox thing with the buildings. That looks really cool. It just looks so satisfying. The sound effects, like the plopping effect whenever you place a thing and it changes, and oh, it's just so cool. yeah, I think it's coming close to 2 hours, and just somehow magically the chat just dies at the 2 hour mark, which is roughly when we're trying to end anyway. So if there's any final questions, we can go for another 5-10 minutes, just answer whatever's left if there are any more questions. I'm not gonna try and scroll back up and find ones I might have missed, so if you are still here and want a question answered, just ask it again. And Luca has thanked us for being a good motivation apparently, so yeah, glad. Hopefully we've helped you. I think, yeah, again, Luca was the one who had tried prototyping Mario and Pong. So yeah, hopefully we've managed to help motivate you to actually go and make that other game you're wanting to make. It was quite a while ago we started talking, so I forgot all the details. But it was about trying to like take the skills you already know and apply them to a game you want to make yourself, rather than making like a clone. So yeah, the chat's dead. There's still like people here, but oh wait, maybe the chat isn't dead. The chat isn't dead. It's literally my thing's dead. My Streamlabs is not loading any more messages. That's a shame. Wait, if I hit refresh chat, oh, it's fixed now. Okay, so maybe there were a lot more questions. Yeah, I'm just gonna read from the bottom and go for another, like, let's say 5 minutes.
Okay.
I'm making a game in Godot or Godot. I don't know. Is it Godot? I think people say Godot. My question is more code. Is more code better or more art? Like, in terms of spending your time. I guess it depends what you are good at. Like, I always find if I program for too long and work on systems but don't make any visuals, I don't feel as good because those things I've made just look kind of bad. But I like sometimes coding for ages, then doing a little bit of Blender, making some little models, and then like, hey, look, even though it's not good, you know, I have something to show visually. Because sadly, at the end of the day, the person playing your game only cares about what they see and what they get to interact with. They don't see all the back end. So, yeah. Obviously, you need to try and make it clean. You need to be able to go in later and fix bugs and like work on your code base. But also, it's not going to affect the player themselves. So, yeah, it's all about the balance if you have a time limit. I can't just tell you, spend more time on art, spend more time on programming, but like you said with the guy doing the Bad North and the other one, like, he's good at doing art, and the games themselves are quite simple, so he's got that real strong suit of making it look really good, just making it look really good. I say simple. The new game, like the building the cities like procedurally when you like change the buildings, that's not easy at all. That looks like really hard. But what I mean is, like, the games themselves look simple to the player, but they also look really nice. I don't know. I'm just rambling now.
I kind of disagree.
Oh?
I think most of your time should be spent on art. And the reason why I say that is because, you know, it's the first thing everyone's going to see. You know, I think that it's definitely possible to make a game that's like completely programmer heavy and less art heavy. And it can become really popular, but I think you have a much easier time if you can just put something visually stimulating in front of people, and then just off the graphics alone, they're like, I want to try that, you know. And if it's so stimulating, you can have bugs and all that stuff, and people won't really care about it. But if like the art is not up to par, and then you also have bugs in there, I think that people would just grill it like to the point of no return. It's an unfortunate thing. That's just how human psychology works.
Yeah, I guess it's also whether you're like prototyping. Because if you're prototyping,
yeah,
it's like you want to get the mechanic working. You don't need to spend ages refactoring it and like all that stuff. You just want it to work and test. Does it feel good to play? Get some friends. Does it feel good to play? Usually, sometimes you can be the most critical of yourself, but also sometimes you can be in your own bubble thinking, this is fine. Then 20 people try it and all 20 of them hate it or something. Or they find some flaw with it that you didn't think of. So it's always good to get another pair of eyes on something you're working on. Otherwise, you will just keep going down whatever you think's best. But if you don't have any other opinions on it, then, you know, I mean, who's to say your game should be a certain way? But also, if you're planning on releasing it to people, you don't want it to be awful, you know? You still want to meet expectations, but you also want it to be what you want it to be. Yeah, art pays off more when it comes to, the public's perception of the game. And maybe just because I spend most of my time doing the programming and like multiplayer networking, that's all about making it work as opposed to making it look good. And also, I'm quite lucky in my tutorials because they're completely programmer focused. I don't need to make stuff look good at all. Like, people don't care if I'm using capsules, cubes to make stuff work. They just care, does that player move on that other machine when I move it, because multiplayer stuff, right? And if I make it look a bit better, it can be nice, but people, for my videos, don't care. Though, for proper commercial games, yeah, I agree. If the game is just made of capsules and cubes, then people are gonna just not play it. You do need it to look a bit good. You need to make it look good. Code Parade on YouTube is interesting. Which one's Code Parade? Is he the one who did the like worlds with the non-Euclidean? Yeah. Like, I've watched quite a few of his stuff. Yeah. I'm trying to see if there are any other questions before we end now. I don't know. I think I've answered pretty much everything. Yeah. Oh, Andre was here. Great seeing the stream. The fact he's just messaged right now at the end, like, I don't know if he just tuned in, but we are at the end now, so.
Oh, Andre, yeah, dude, amazing stuff. I'm a huge fan of Andre's stuff.
Yeah, Andre, just like Danny, is another good one for motivation. Like, I've sometimes seen the stuff and been like, yeah, that's motivated me to go and spend a few hours on Unity that day if I wasn't going to otherwise, just because the stuff just looks so good. And it's not just the looks, it's also the mechanics themselves. Like, I think one of the last ones I saw that I was really impressed with was the Zelda one with the... Was it the Zelda one where, like, he went into the wall? I don't know. It just, yeah. That did something. That like... It's just so cool. I don't know. And it has a lot of shader work in there, which is something I'm not familiar with. I always say I want to learn shaders, but I'm too busy doing other stuff. But I will find time to learn shaders at some point. I'll probably end up just using Shader Graph, but like I do want to learn.
Just do Shader Graph. It'll make your life a lot easier, and then it translates pretty well to the actual like the shader language itself.
Yeah, because it is effectively visual scripting for shaders, because each node is just like add this, multiply this, do whatever math function to this. It's all just math functions, really, isn't it? So, the problem with non-Euclidean worlds is you have to fake it. You can't really make a non-Euclidean editor. Yeah, I don't know any of the behind the scenes for that project. I only saw the YouTube video where it made it look awesome, so maybe it's a mess behind the scenes. But like we say, behind the scenes, the people don't care, I guess, when they play it or see it. Yeah, we've got quite a few people in chat now. Everyone's being happy about all the motivation. Everyone's giving up. It's a very, very wholesome stream. But it is 2 hours. It is 9 p.m. for me now, and I feel like, the questions have died down. So I think it's time to say goodbye. I think people will be okay with that. So thanks everyone for watching this 6th live stream. I'll be back again next Wednesday with a new guest that I haven't yet got. I think I do know who, but I'm not going to make any promises because it could change. So yeah, make sure to check out Jabrils' channel down below. Do you want to say your goodbyes?
Goodbye, everyone. It's been fun. It's been a fun 2 hours. Thank you for tuning in. Yeah, make sure to check your seat before you leave the plane.
Great way to end the stream. Oh, and we've got another question. No, how old were we when we started programming? Let's just quickly answer that. I was 15, maybe.
Yeah, mine. I have to go a bit in depth. So mine was like 15 or 16, but I didn't code. I coded for like 2 years, and then I stopped for like 4 or 5, and then got back on it. So take that with a grain of salt. There we go. We got a quick question in at the end. And also we have Games Plus James in the chat. He joined a bit late, but hope the stream was awesome. The stream was awesome. Thanks everyone for joining, and I'll see you next week. Goodbye.